Late Night Health continues. I'm Mark Allen, along with Mark Blumenthal. Now, we've run into each other at many shows. I should say, before I start with Mark, that Late Night Health is powered by Pod Clips, and we thank Mike Anderson and the guys for doing that. Pod Clips will be starting very soon. It is a new podcasting and video network, and we're very excited about working with Mike and the guys on developing that. We are live, and you can hear the background noise. We're actually on the floor, just off the floor of one of the biggest shows around. It's not as big as Expo West, where I originally met Mark Blumenthal, who is the founder and executive director of the American Botanical Council, and he's also the editor-in-chief and publisher of Herbal Gram and Herbal Clip. Mark, thanks. I've been trying to get you to sit down and talk to me for a couple of years. Are Americans healthy?
By and large, depending on what your yardstick for healthy is, one could say, yes, we're very healthy, and some people could say, no, we're not healthy enough. So it depends on what you want to look at. With the increase in degenerative metabolic diseases, for example, diabetes for being one of them, one could argue that lifestyle and other considerations, including diet, suggest that many Americans are not healthy. And yet there's a subset of Americans who go to the gym several times a day, are doing yoga, looking out for what they eat. The increase in consumer interest in plant-based protein and other plant-based foods in general signifies trends in subsectors of the population that are very healthy-oriented. I personally have been a vegetarian for 51 years. I've been very fortunate and lucky and grateful to be healthy due to genetic inheritance, due to the way I play the hand that I was dealt, I hope to believe, at the same time. So I think that it's a question of nature and nurture, both. And so I think, when you say when Americans healthy, I don't want to look at the population on a monolithic basis. I think we have to look at it really what it is. It's really numbers of subsets of different types of populations and different demographics, and you have to choose them. So there are trends that are very, I think, inspiring, and I think I'm very optimistic about that are going in the direction of more natural food stores and more natural food items and organic items being sold in conventional food stores, etc.
Let's talk about plant-based food, because plant-based food is kind of becoming very, very popular.
Yes.
In fact, fast food chains are now offering plant-based food hamburgers, right?
Right.
We won't mention any names.
Right.
I have a problem with it. I'm not a vegetarian. I've tried several of them, but they seem to grill it on the same grill right next to the beef grill.
So I was at a place the other day, and they offered a black bean burger in a place that sold mainly everything else was all hamburgers. And I asked, and I was able to negotiate for them to grill in olive oil or whatever vegetable oil they had, fresh, in a pan, instead of on the grill, my black bean burger for the whole wheat veggie burger that I got, basically, so that my burger would not be, quote, contaminated, unquote, with the grease that has meat products in it from the regular grill where everything else is grilled on. So as a 51-year vegetarian and counting, so to speak, I've learned over the years to be very careful in how I order my food, knowing that some of it can be, quote, contaminated from my perspective at least, because the way it's cooked, even though the material by itself initially may have been qualified as a high-quality vegetarian ingredients, but that, for the same reason I don't eat fried food. A, I don't like fried food in general. And B, but they say, well, and I see on restaurant menus, they have the V for vegetarian or vegan in some cases for the sweet potato fries or the French fries. And I asked them, where are these fries fried? Are they fried in the same batch of oil as the fried shrimp and the fried chicken you have right here on the same menu? They said yes. I said, then with all due respect, this is not vegetarian or vegan because it's been fried in oil that other meat products have been fried in. So technically, if a vegetarian were to be strict as they want it, they could be, but they maybe don't know how to ask the question yet.
Right.
Hey, vegetarians, ask the question. Are fried foods being fried with meat and or shrimp or fish, and therefore it's not vegetarian at all?
But people don't ask they're healthcare professionals questions. They go to the doctor, and this is true from, I think, millennials all the way up to octogenarians, okay?
Okay.
Is that an eight-legged? Anyway.
Yeah, octogenarians. Yeah. Because also oxygenarians. We're all oxygenarians, I guess.
God, we are indeed.
Yeah, yes.
But they go to the doctor and they say, it hurts, doc, when I do this. You know that old joke.
Yeah.
Right? What's the answer that the doctor gives?
Well, usually don't do it.
Right. But they shouldn't. The answer should be, or the follow-up question should be, well, okay, doc, I won't do it, but why is it hurt? They don't ask. So, are they going to ask that question about where that burger was fried or not fried?
Well, the problem, because you're raising several issues simultaneously. One of them is, how much time does a patient really have with their primary care physician or their specialist? 5 minutes, 8 minutes, some people say. And in that period of time, they don't have enough opportunity to communicate their lifestyle information to their physician, whoever she or he might be. And so they don't get the full picture of what's going on unless they have a regular, a larger intake form that they've actually reviewed adequately. So, of course, lifestyle is a primary issue aside from genetics on people's health, and it could be a health-related issue. It could be a psychological-related issue, health could be a food-related issue as to why one joint might work or hurt or another. There's lots of different reasons, and so the problem is, of course, in most of our medicine, the doctor wants to give you a pill, or the patient wants, even in many cases, give me a pill for this, and even if it's a placebo, so I can go home and be rid of all this.
Well, but you get a cold, you go to the doctor, and you say, "Doc, give me an antibiotic. I'm dying here," right?
Except in most cases, colds or flu are virally indicated,
but they still ask.
And you don't use antibiotics for cold or flu because they'd be worthless.
But they do ask.
It's a misuse, yeah.
And their doctors often prescribe them because that 5 to 8 minute time period, they don't have time to argue.
Well, I'll tell you, I'll throw this in voluntarily here, since talking about colds and flu. I seldom get a cold or flu. Maybe once every 3 or 4 years, maybe because I'm lucky, and again, gratitude to my parents for the wonderful genes that I've inherited, and grateful to the opportunity to try to play the hand. But if I get the sniffles or those first indications or symptoms of a cold or flu, what I immediately do is I take herbs like echinacea, astragalus, andrographis, I take ginger, I take cayenne, I take vitamin C, and I take a lot of it. Vitamin C every 2 to 4 hours, even though, yes, it's water soluble and will come out in your urine, fine. But I take 500 milligrams or so, maybe 1,000. And
Thank you, Dr. Pauling.
Yes, thank you. And within 24 to 36 hours, I'm usually asymptomatic of the cold or flu symptoms that I was experiencing, because I basically paid attention to it at the very first signs of the symptoms and hitting it with a barrage of basically mostly herbals, but some vitamins as well. And I also use elderberry. All of a sudden, it'll put elderberry syrup, very useful. So I've been very fortunate. People in my office will be out for 4 or 5 days with a heavy flu or an achy type of breaky flu, and if I'm exposed to it, I usually I don't have a problem because I have a high functioning immune system, and I take adaptogenic herbs every day, like rhodiola. I take schizandra, these Chinese herbs that help increase your energy, helps your immune system, reduces fatigue. And these are part of my daily regimen of vitamin and herbs that I take on a proactive, regular basis.
What's really interesting to me is you have more energy than a lot of millennials. And you're, let's say, a baby boomer.
I am. I'm born in 46. I'm 73. I'm grateful to be here.
Yeah.
I'm still engaged because life is exciting.
Right. And let's get into the part where life gets not exciting. As people age, a lot of people, and more people are suffering from dementia, Alzheimer's, and whatever variants there are.
Yeah.
I don't want to wake up and not know who that woman is that I'm sleeping next to. I mean, I want to know that it's my wife.
Right.
And I want to know my kids. I want to know my friends.
Right.
And I want to know, most importantly, that I'm Mark.
Right. Well, Yeah, there seems to be almost an epidemic level of the various types of dementia going on, whether it be Alzheimer's or other types of dementia. I've been very interested and very inspired by the work of Dr. Dale Bredesen, who you may be familiar with, who is probably to dementia what Dean Ornish has been to heart disease and cardiovascular disease. He has developed dietary ways and dietary supplements to help reduce the onset of dementia, or stop and or in some cases reverse the onset of dementia based on the research he's been able to do. That's Dr. Dale Bredesen, Bredesen. He has a book out about this. I forgot the name of the book. But
we'll have to
his
try
work,
to get him on the show.
Yeah, he's compelling, very compelling, and it's lifestyle. He works on the focus of lifestyle modification, dietary interventions for, again, retarding, stopping, and or reversing the onset of certain types of dementia, which is astonishing.
Absolutely. I mean, it's. I think I just read a study. The number one concern about growing old for baby boomers, because today's 60-year-old is yesterday's 40-year-old, right?
As they say.
You look at Father Knows Best. The guy was 40. Robert Young was 42 years old doing Father Knows Best. And he's sitting around in a shirt and tie. You have more than a shirt and tie in how many years?
I've not worn a tie in over 20 years.
Got it. And I only wear it when I'm on camera,
yeah.
Right? So Robert Young at 42 looks like the average 60-year-old. He's active and doing that, but they have this fear. And I think that we have to find something that's simple and easy and inexpensive so that we can, live our lives and have quality of life. I think that's the most important thing. We only have a few minutes left. Our guest is Mark Blumenthal, founder and executive director, editor-in-chief and publisher of Herbalgram and Herbal Clip, and the founder of the American Botanical Council. Tell us what the American Botanical Council is all about.
ABC, American Botanical Council, is an independent, nonprofit research and education organization. We're in Austin, Texas, but we're basically an international organization. We publish 6 different journals and newsletters for our members, and also some that are free at herbalgram.org, our website. We are one of the largest websites that are non-commercial oriented, with peer-reviewed information summarizing the science that's continually publishing in the world on clinical studies that continue to document the relative safety and many of the clinical benefits of medicinal plant preparations.
Wow. What's the age range? She's looking at all this. Is it millennials? Is it seniors? Or
our membership?
Your membership?
Our membership are basically research scientists, health professionals, industry members, government agencies, botanical gardens, arboreta, independent analytical laboratories, all a very wide spectrum of members of people and institutions that are interested in medicinal plant research, scientific and clinical documentation of the world's heritage, basically. We are basically documenting the safety and benefits and the new opportunities associated with good health based on plants, both foods as medicines, plant foods as medicines, as well as the more esoteric herbal medicines and medicinal plants.
Where do you think it's going? We're
going up. Nowhere but up. We've been publishing for 20 years an annual herb market report, and in the last 20 years, except for 1 year, the market has continued to rise 8-9% in the last few years, an increase in herbal dietary supplement sales in North America and the United States, not including herbal tea sales, herbal cosmetics, etc. So the sales of herbal materials are really increasing as supplements are increasing by in consumer sales, because consumers are voting with their dollars that they want safe, effective, low-cost healthcare options, including but not limited to herbal medicines.
And what about pharmaceutical meds? I mean, I was saying earlier to somebody that I saw an ad the other day that the average price of product X, whatever it was $3,200 a month. I don't know anybody who could afford that.
Well, hopefully their insurance will cover most of that. The fact of the matter is that there is a place for pharmaceutical drugs, of course. What we're dealing with here is the idea that people should look at different opportunities as first lines of defense. You should not necessarily go to the doctor to get a pharmaceutical drug for many of the ails and illnesses that people have as the first choice. There are dietary modifications, lifestyle modifications, stress reduction techniques, yoga, exercise, meditation, prayer, whatever, that can increase a person's lifestyle, and that can reduce the chances of disease and can reduce the effects of certain kind of disease, including the use of properly manufactured and responsibly marketed and clinically tested dietary supplements, herbal and otherwise. And then, if certain situations occur or certain situations don't ameliorate, there is always the room for more aggressive pharmaceutical drug therapy.
And you mentioned vaccinations.
I didn't mention vaccinations.
Somebody did.
Okay.
Well, I thought about it. It's
Yeah.
the flu season.
Yeah.
All right. You mentioned what you do.
Yeah.
Do you take a flu vaccine?
I do not. Now, I'm not suggesting that people do what I do. I'm just saying I have not
It's
ever
just
had a
an
flu.
option.
I have not ever had a flu shot. I'm 73. I've been very fortunate again. I've got a very strong constitution, again, thanks to my parents. And whenever I have that first sign of a flu or a cold, I hit it hard with the dietary supplements, the herbal supplements, and let's say within 24 to 48 hours, if that long, I'm usually asymptomatic. So I've been fortunate.
And last but not least, do you have your own garden?
I have gardens, a 2.5 acre place where my historic gardens, where the American Botanical Council sits in East Austin, where we have about 300 different herbal medicines and different plants grown, including a vegetable garden. So I travel too much to tend to a garden at home, but I do access many of the plants that are grown at the ABC Gardens.
Right. We started an organic garden a couple of years ago, and the squirrels beat me this year.
Yeah, well, they have to eat too.
Yeah, I wish they wouldn't.
Yes.
Anyway, Mark, thank you very much.
Thank
What
you.
is the website? Oh, here we go. herbalgram.org.
Yeah.
herbalgram.org. I'm Mark Allen. By the way, Mark and I spell our names right. I owe him money because he's a little bit older than I am, and apparently he has copyrighted the name Mark with a K. We're at Supply Side West. We are being powered by Pod Clips, and we thank Mike Anderson and his team of guys for doing that. It's just going to be a brand new podcasting site coming up in the next couple of weeks, we hope. We'll be starting with Late Night Health. I'm Mark Allen here on Late Night Health, and speaking of starting, we have some music coming up, and there it goes. We'll be back shortly. We've got some more people to talk to here on Late Night Health, live from Supply Side West in Las Vegas, Nevada.